What's up, guys? It's Tedward here, and today I wanted to show everybody how I like to make the wings on my airplanes. So, the first thing you have to do is you have to cut your spar slash former. I'm just using two pieces of foam board glued together. These are 1.5 by 25 by one foam board, or two, because there's two of them. But you just glued two of them together. I use Gorilla Glue because I wanted it to be a nice strong joint, because a lot of the force of the wing is going along this spar here, and the lamination on it is actually very important. So I wanted to make sure that that was a nice strong joint. But yeah, get your spar made. 1.5 by 25 by two foam boards. And then once you have that, you want to remove the paper from the top side. Wait. Yeah, you want to remove the paper from the top side. Just had to make sure I was choosing my top side right. So sometimes the paper will fail to come off. Definitely make sure you use foam that you can get the paper off of. It's going to be pretty hard to use this method if you can't get the paper off the foam. But yeah, you wanna just make sure that you get that paper off of one side, and that basically just helps the foam just conform a little bit better to the top of the wing. So now, once we have our little spar, we want to get onto the main wing surface. So my wing is going to come out just over 5 inches chord, and then it's going to be 25-inch fuselage. So the first thing that I'm going to do, or no, it's 24 inches. Wait, let me measure my spar. I think it's 24. Yeah, so mine is a 5 by 24 inch wing. So I'm going to start by measuring 24 inches from one of the edges of my foam. In the background there, you can hear my battery charger. Yeah, so I'm going to start by just measuring 24 inches from the edge of the foam board. I generally like to get a nice firm edge so that the ruler is there pretty sturdily. But yeah, once you have your ruler there, just measure however big you want your wingspan to be. And keep in mind, we will do about that wingspan in polyhedral panels later on. So the total wing will be almost 4 feet, even though this section is only 24 inches. So we start just 24 inches from the side. Then we go up here, 24 inches. And now, once we successfully measure 24 inches from the edge of it, we're going to want to just make our mark. And then, this is a way that I like to make sure all my lines are nice and parallel, is just marking the distance that I want at each end. And the further away the 2 points are, the better. So this is a full foam board, so that's pretty good. If it was not a full foam board, it would be not quite as good. So we want to just make sure you do that. Oh, just a little quick tip. On the back of my ruler, I put some electrical tape, and it increases the friction on it, which is quite nice. 10 out of 10 life hack. How to make good ruler. Alright, there we go. all the sound of a knife cutting through foam board, you know? Alright, so now we've trimmed our foam board down a little bit. Just a bit. So now we are going to measure in the distances that we're going to use for making the fold itself. So we're going to start, whichever edge you like the least, you want to make your trailing edge. So we're going to start just at our trailing edge, and then mark back 6 inches. So don't worry, I can count, I think. There we go. That should be 6 inches. I don't know, I might not be able to count. Alright. So, this is a section where you don't want to cut through the foam. You just want to score it. You want to score the paper so you can remove the paper. And then it allows you to get a nice clean bend instead of just notching the wing, which decreases strength. Guys, I'm going to be completely honest real quick. A large part of the reason why I haven't had too many flight videos coming out is because the most successful flights I've had are when my plane stays in the air long enough to crash into a tree. My last one actually was working pretty well, but then I couldn't get it into the car, so I wasn't able to get it very far out of my yard. I was going to take it out to some fields to fly it, but yeah, we couldn't get it in the car, so then I had to fly in my yard, and it hit a tree, which is kind of tragic. Anyway, this one is still going to be a large plane. It's still going to be almost 4 feet wingspan, but 4 feet is small enough that it should fit in my car. So, that's good. Got a low quality score over here. God, I hate when paper gets stuck on my phone. Okay, no, we'll just leave it. We'll just leave it. We'll leave it. Leave it. So now we have this section of foam. This section of foam is pretty nice because it bends pretty fluidly. It's not like it's gonna kink and break and stuff. So that's always nice. Just gotta inspect the paper on the other side because on my last wing I ripped the leading edge a little bit. That's kind of tragic. But now we can. Excuse me, just gotta move some parts around real quick. All right, so now we can just measure the way that I like to do this. There we go, 1 inch. Sorry, forgot about that dimension. But our former thing, our former spar that we made and took the paper off, that goes 1 inch back from where you creased it, or where you removed the paper. So I just wanted to trim off some of the excess Gorilla Glue. Alright, so now what we're going to do is just going to measure about 1 inch back from that little crease there. And there we go. So now we gotta measure our 1 inch mark on the other side. So this is definitely one of the spots where you're gonna want to apply a pretty nice, generous amount of Gorilla Glue. And then I also like to add a layer of hot glue to just make sure that it doesn't move while it's drying, because that tends to just decrease strength a little bit. So now we'll just get our glue gun heating up. And in the meantime, let me find my pliers real quick. Here we go. We've got some pliers. Yeah, the Gorilla Glue has a tendency to kind of glue itself shut sometimes. But there we go. So now we want to apply a nice thick, generous layer of Gorilla Glue along the bottom surface of this spar. Gorilla Glue. Actually, Gorilla Glue is not, you can't eat Gorilla Glue. Guys, don't eat Gorilla Glue. It's bad. It gives you, like, kidney failure or something. I don't know. The nice thing about Gorilla Glue, especially compared with hot glue, is you get, like, working time. There we go. So now we've got a pretty nice amount of Gorilla Glue there. And it's going to dry pretty light, but it'll still be nice and strong. Okay, good on that side. This side, let's check. Make sure we got everything right. Alright, so now that spar shouldn't move while it's drying, which means we should be able to go on and do the wing and do the actual fold itself in just a sec. Need a little more Gorilla Glue. Or that's not Gorilla Glue, that's hot glue. God, I'm stupid. There we go. So just a very thin bead of hot glue. You want to try to smear off the excess. Guys, here's a quick trick for hot gluing two surfaces together. Wait, no, that's not gonna work. But when we've got glue piece 1 on glue piece 2, you've got two ways to apply your bead of hot glue. You can go, you trail the bead with the nozzle, so it looks a little bit like that, or you can have the nozzle go behind the bead, and then it makes a very nice thin, clean bead of hot glue. And remember, more glue does not always mean more strength. So now we have a lot less weight with this one. Yeah, with that one we have a lot less weight than with that one. Even though that one has a lot more glue, because a lot of it is about surface area. And by smearing it with the nozzle, you get a very high surface area of bond to the foam. Little known fact. So, now, the main section of our wing is almost done, but we still need to fold it. And folding the wing is one of the most difficult steps. So the keys to folding it, first, you want to make sure you have a very firm, rigid object that won't bend, because then it'll fold uneven. So this is like a, I think this might be a 1x2, but this is a pretty solid piece of timber, and it's really not gonna bend too much. Like if you see, even as I'm pushing, it's just not bending too much. So that's nice. And now we're gonna just fold this. First thing we do is just a test fold. And honestly, once you do that, the rest of it is pretty easy. But be careful on the test fold. Oh shoot. The other side sounds kind of funny. Alright, so now that should give us a pretty nice, good, clean airfoil once we fold it. Sorry, my computer died there. But once we fold it and glue it down and everything. So, just going to want to give it a pretty nice bend at the front. Pretty solid amount of pressure all along. Keeps it nice and even. And there is actually one last trick to making it good, and that is you wanna have something to distribute the pressure. So clamping it. Wait. Yeah, here we go. So clamping the foam tends to leave a little mark from the clamp. And so what you want to do is instead of just clamping like the large wooden support directly to the foam, you want to have a piece of foam in between, and then that will act as both a cushion and it will distribute the weight better. So that's pretty important. This is definitely my lowest quality idea. Just popping some hot glue on my clamps real quick. There we go. No, doesn't work. Alright, so now what we're going to do is just apply a nice generous bead of Gorilla Glue along the top. There really is no need to try to like conserve your glue. This is possibly one of the most important joints in the plane. So make sure it's pretty strong. And I really like to use Gorilla Glue for this one, just because of the working time and the strength to weight. Let me check on my battery real quick. Oh, okay, good. It's only at 7.75. Guys, when you fully charge a battery, it should be up to 4.2 volts per cell. So just remember that. Alright, so now we have a pretty solid amount of glue down there. But we're gonna fold this over nice and carefully so we get a nice good clean edge. Nice good clean wing. And then we're gonna put our wooden 1x2 on top of the foam, on top of the wing. And then let me just flip this around real quick. So now our wing can get to drying. So you're going to want to clamp it and put it in a place where it can stay for several hours. unwinding my clamp. Guys, if you have a friend, this step is a lot easier with somebody else. So one person can fold and hold the wing down while the other person clamps it. Alright, what's going on here? This is actually a pretty solid problem. My clamp doesn't seem to fit. This is just only somewhat embarrassing. Dang it. This could be a problem. What if we just put a large weight on top? Oh, that actually works. I did not think that was gonna work. There we go. Just a nice weight clamp. No, that's definitely not the recommended way to do this. But my table is too thick, so we're gonna have to improvise a little bit. The clamps are pretty heavy. Add some extra weight. It's clamped down. The clamps were used as weights. Get pranked. So it's not like a normal clamping, but it is still clamped. Boom. Now, this wing build method does have one little tiny flaw. The length of the wing, so this way, will tend to vary about 1/4 of an inch, depending on the way the foam was manufactured. But this wing will be light, strong, and it has very good flight characteristics. So, with that, we'll let that dry, and I'll see you in a second. What's up, guys? I think my wing is done. So, now, I'm going to take all of the weights, everything I used to clamp it down off, very carefully, because if the weights fall unevenly, it can crimp the foam, and then it'll look weird. So we don't want it to do that. But now, when I take it off, I should have a nice, clean airfoil looking thing in there. So that actually came out pretty well. So now it's time to figure out our trailing edge. So for that, I'm just gonna fold this part here down, and I want to trace it. So I'm just gonna go like that. Nope, that pencil doesn't have any lead. But we're gonna go like that. Just trace along that trailing edge. So now we've traced our trailing edge. We can cut along that, and it should work pretty well. I recommend drawing a line and then cutting it and then gluing it down, because I find that sometimes it's hard to trim it accurately after the wing has been glued into its final shape. So we're just gonna put the ruler down Make sure it goes along the line. Wait, that looks like it might be a little bit close. As a sec, we fold it down pretty well. Like it. So now, we're just gonna very carefully grab our knife and just, wait, I'll bring that out just a tiny bit, because it looks like it might be a little bit difficult. But now we're gonna fold that down and just cut. So I hope that all of you like the sound of a knife on foam board. Cause we just got a lot of foam board cutting. See, but now what we do is we just break it, because we didn't actually cut all the way through there. Just scored it. Now that we've broken it, fold down, it fits almost perfectly. So now I can go all the way through and cut along the paper on the bottom, and it'll be a very nice, clean, well-angled edge. Alright, so now we have our trailing edge cut, and I'm going to heat up my hot glue gun. So there's a couple of different ways to finish up the trailing edge. You could bevel it, you can do some tape, but the first thing that I always do is just put a little bead of hot glue along it, just to make sure it doesn't like spread apart. Because there, even after the fold, it doesn't just stay together, so we gotta just glue it quickly. So once my hot glue gun heats up, God, hot glue gun, why are you taking so long to heat up? So the key with the hot glue gun is to go glue before nozzle. So you want to go like that, because if you go the other way, yeah, you want to try to go along it like that. If you go like that, you get a thick bead of glue, and the hot glue gun won't transport itself very well. Jeez, why is it taking so long to heat up? Is it hot yet? No. This is one of the major downsides of hot glue. Takes a hot sec to heat up. Alright, there we go. Now we've got some nice toasty hot glue. So getting a pretty nice bead of hot glue on the trailing edge is important, because otherwise the trailing edge will come undone. But as you can see there, it's actually not coming undone, just because my hand left. Part of it's still a little bit viscous, but I think we're good now. So if you look, it's staying together fine. There, I haven't put glue down, but if you look at it from the side, you really can't see the bead of glue because of the way that I use the hot glue gun. So by going glue of bead first, and then smearing it a bit, it makes it a very thin, strong but lightweight joint, which is pretty nice. Not gonna lie. That's upside down. So here we go. We have our wing that is coming apart at the edge. Nice. Guys, also, leave a comment for the name of this plane. Building a new plane. We've got this wing that I'm working on. We've got the tail. I have the fuselage built. And leave a comment down below what you want the name to be. Because we need a new name. Ta-da! We've got a nice wing there. It's got a nice leading edge. Nice and clean, smooth. And it actually kind of looks like a real airfoil. So that's always a plus. Guys, remember, if you like the video, leave a comment on the name. Make sure to subscribe. Oh wait, I still needed to attach that polyhedral panels. The video's not over yet. That's funny. See you in a sec. What's up, guys? We have our wing drying, and now I'm gonna go get started on the polyhedral panels. So we're gonna stick these on the edge of the wing tip at an angle, and it's gonna make it really stable. So the key to this part is both of them have to be the same. Other than that, it really doesn't matter a ton, like what your polyhedral panels look like. But the way I'm doing it is a 5-inch long polyhedral panel. So 5 inches that way. Then it's going to be 12 inches that way, or 12 inches wingspan. And then it's going to be a taper from 12 to 5 inches on lengthwise, and from 5 to 3 inches widthwise. So we want to start at the corner. Let me find a ruler that's better for that. There we go. For this, we need to start at the corner. Then we're going to mark a couple of points along this. So this is going to be the edge that I'm going to taper to. So once we have our ruler lined up nicely on the edge, we are going to just mark the point at 5 inches, and then another one at 12. Make sure the marks are nice and visible. And then we're going to go to the other side, and let me get my right angle device. Here we go. So we're going to go to the other side, line this up with the edge, and then take our thinner ruler and make sure that that one's lined up pretty nicely. Nah, we'll just use the normal one. Doesn't seem to be giving a great measurement. But we'll just take that, line it up at the edge, and then this time we don't need to mark the 5 inches because the taper is not going to be on this side. So we're just going to mark it at 12. Just make the mark nice and visible. And then we're gonna grab our little ruler, and we're gonna put our square or whatever. I'm just using one of my motor mounts because it has a nice right angle on it. But we're just gonna pop that there, and then line up the ruler. And then we're gonna mark it at 3 inches. Or 2 inches back, because it's going to be 3 inches total, I think. Yeah, 3 inches total. So then what we're going to do is we're gonna draw the line for that 12-inch mark. We're going to take a nice, wait, gotta make sure it's a good line, because if your line is off, then the whole thing is off. But yeah, make sure you use a nice sharp knife, because otherwise it just won't cut very well, and you'll end up with like flares in the foam, and it'll be pretty inaccurate. So now we're going to take that and go to the point we marked on the front edge from the edge of that line. Then just cut it. Now, just gonna check it. And it didn't quite cut all the way through. So we're just gonna clean it up. And now we have our nice, clean 5-inch polyhedral panel cut. This will go onto the side of the wing once it's dry. But we have one of these on each wingtip, so one isn't enough. We need 2. We have a second one just spawned in. They line up pretty nicely. Pretty good size. And then these we just glue onto the edge of the wing. We'll see that in a second once the wing is dry. So now we have our wing built, and we have our polyhedral panels made. But this polyhedral panel looks kind of funny, so I'm actually not going to be using the ones I just built. It's going to be the same dimensions, but I made a new one with the leading edge covered. This will likely be in the tail construction video, so stay subscribed for that. In the meantime, I'm going to be attaching these polyhedral panels to my wing. So the way that we want to do this is we want to take our cutting mat, and my cutting mat actually comes with some angles marked on it. So has a 10 degree, a 20 degree, 40 degree. It's got all the degrees, but we wanna try to make sure that our wing angles are constant. It actually doesn't have to be like a specific angle. It just has to be the same on both sides. And you want it to be like a fairly low angle. So I'm going to be going with about 10 degrees. So first, I'm going to move my cutting mat over so that we can balance our wing on the other side. And then I'm actually going to use a tiny bit of hot glue to make sure that my ruler doesn't move, but just a little bit, and it should actually just peel off. So it shouldn't cause too much of a problem. Just hold it there for a sec while it dries. But that'll just help keep it in place while we're doing the wing. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to take our wing and our polyhedral panel. We're going to line them up next to each other. Make sure that the trailing edges of them both line up. And then we're going to put a very thin bead of glue along like the side where they're joined. And if you do it thin enough, you should, even after it's dry, we're just gonna let it dry. But if you do it right and you do it nice and thin, then if you give it a sec to dry, you should be able to fold it up, and the hot glue will actually act as a hinge. So that tends to work pretty well. That's what I like to do to attach it. But then we're going to want to line up our wing on the 0.0, and then line up, oh wait, no, I did it on the wrong side. That's the side with the 10s. I want the 15. Oops. Alright, so my cutting mat has 2 sides. It has 2 spots where the angles have measurements. One of them, the angles are in groups of, or one of them, the angles count up by 10s. The other one, I count by 15s. I like to do about 15 degrees, and I did it on the 10s side, so it's not going to work. 20 will be too high of an angle, and it'll lose lift. And 10 may not be enough, so then it'll be too unstable. So There we go. Now we've got it lined up on the right side. But yeah, just gonna put a very thin layer of hot glue. Should hold it in place. And then we're gonna take our wing, line it up with the ruler, bend that to 15 degrees. Should give us a nice 15-degree angle. Then we're going to fill the crevasse on the side without the hinge with a nice thick bead of hot glue, which generally should hold it in its shape pretty well. So now we're just going to let that dry. This is fairly important to get this correct because it will help determine your stability and your lift. So yeah, I want to make sure you do it right. Alright, so now we have our polyhedral panel attached. You're going to want to do this to the other side, but that's how I build my wings.